I purchased this 10 kilogram BAMF Hammer over at Home Gym Con 2025. It was one of the things actually I saw at 2024 Home Gym Con that I was eyeing and picking up the next round. Also got a chance to talk to the owner, Sean. You're gonna see a little bit of some clips and some questions I asked him over at Home Gym Con. He has a great success story. He's been plugging these things away and really touting the benefits of using such a hammer for a few years now. I've been kind of intrigued by it, and I can tell you after using it since I picked it up, I definitely do not regret picking it up. The best way I can kind of describe this, I would say it is a hybrid, so to speak, of the benefits of using something like a Mace bar and also the benefits of, say, a kettlebell. And what's great, of course, they all have their own specific purposes, and of course you can load and increase the weight and use them more specific on those different implements. What I like about this, it is really the best of both worlds in that you get a lot of the benefits of that distal load, controlling acceleration, deceleration, really being mindful about what you're doing because you do not want this hammer to hit you in the face or anything else like that. There's also a skill set to this as well, because as easy as this looks to maybe slam and have it hit flat on the ground, when I first picked this up, I was frustrated as I was already told to be expected as much. But once you kind of dial down the technique, or at least some technique, and get used to the actual mechanics of the hammer, it is at first a little humbling, but then very rewarding the more you start using this. That many times I use this either as a kind of a standalone workout and kind of off days where I don't have a whole lot of time to work out. I'll just go in here like I did the other day, many days, maybe for like 10 or 15 minutes. You'll be beating sweat after just kind of playing around and swinging, wielding this thing. And then other days I'll use it kind of as a warm up or maybe even a finisher between workouts. And what I can definitely attest to is that when you first look at this, you might see things like shoulder rocking motions and just kind of controlling and holding this thing in your forearms. That at first it does feel difficult and can feel a little iffy, but the more you use this specific apparatus, as you would with anything else, say kettlebells or a dumbbell, the more your body kind of gets accustomed to it, and the more you start to notice really the benefits and trade-offs that you start to feel in your joints, specifically in just mobility. So aside from just being a very fun and engaging tool, that's primarily what I really like about this. Secondarily, I definitely noticed that the more I've started using it, my shoulder flexibility, health, and just the way I kind of move in my upper extremity, specifically shoulder girdle, has definitely improved. I can do a whole separate video if you guys are curious on my favorite exercises, but honestly, I'm still kind of learning through this, and actually the owner, Sean, has a whole separate group set up just in education about how to use these things. Has a lot of different carryovers and practical uses for a lot of people. I do foresee these things, while there's definitely a learning curve and kind of a marketing curve to get people to kind of buy into using something like this. There's no question that if you're into kettlebells and or mace training, you will find a unique benefit and possibly a benefit that actually pushes these ones out in your own personal training once you start to appreciate the benefits that this has to offer. And one final point before I move on to getting into Sean's interview from Home Gym Con is that one thing I love about Sean and also just the BAMF Hammer company in general is that it's a small independent USA based and also USA manufactured product that has essentially a lifetime warranty. Sean stood by that if you break this thing doing normal use, he'll fully replace their product. This thing is expected to last, generations, and I can foresee in the future, when my great grandkids hopefully maybe see this one day, they're going to wonder what Grandpappy was doing with this apparatus. So I think it's kind of a cool, fun apparatus and something I'm sure will stand the test of time, no question. As of right now, what's available? What people buy?
So people can get 5 kilos up to 15 kilos. But with a long handle or a short handle, whichever they prefer. Price point's gonna run between $190 and $270 there. But these rotational movements, BAMF Hammer, Indian Club, Mace work, heavy gata, all that stuff is using your shoulder the way your shoulder's designed to be used. So the fullest range of motion possible and moving weight through that range. Western strength training has a tendency to focus on primary mover development and hypertrophy, which builds a gap between your primary mover and your stabilization system, and that's where injury lives. That's also where, ow, my shoulder hurts. Well, are you using it to the fullest extent possible? You engage with anybody who starts in conventional lifting and then starts adding mace work in, I've never met somebody who has not told me that their shoulder didn't feel better after incorporating rotation, because the shoulder is a more balanced joint when it's equally strong in every direction. So it's gonna take time. It's gonna be a little bit humbling because you're not gonna be able to do the weight that you wanna do, because your ability to press is gonna be up here and your ability to rotate is gonna be way down here. But the answer there is not not rotating and continuing to build the press. It's let your press hang out for a little bit, close the gap, get your rotational capacity stronger, and then your ability to go up moves together. So adding rotation, it's very easy to look at it and say, that's gonna hurt my shoulder. It's gonna hurt in the beginning, but it's gonna hurt because of disuse. It's not gonna hurt because it's causing problems. Now, that's an overgeneralization, and we're also talking about in an environment where you're properly programmed, you're doing your stretching, you're taking your rest and all that stuff. So it's not quite that universally simple. But if you wanted to focus on going, all right, my shoulders I can't do this, I can't, scratch my back, so I'm gonna spend some time working on rotation, and you spent 12 weeks to 6 months doing it, your shoulder would feel markedly different at the end of that.
Awesome. And then, you're selling hammers, but I can see people saying, I'm thinking, well, I'd like to get one thing that does a lot. And it sounds like you were saying maybe the shortest one is the best bang for your buck. And so if I'm thinking like, should I get this or a Mace, or is there one better than another? I'm kind of hoping you tell me the short hammer is the best because I can just buy one thing.
Yeah.
But what's your answer to that?
So I'm always going to think the short handle is the most versatile piece of equipment that I've got. We've got some people, this weekend we were talking to a guy who does a lot of training for firefighters. They don't have a ton of use for the kettlebell motor pattern, so he wants the long handle because it's closer to the tool that they take into the fire. So it's an application. I think the short handle is the most versatile because you can do the most stuff with it. If you find that over time you want to be rotating something heavier, there are some amazing companies that make loadable maces. You can't slam them, but you can overload them to 60, 70, 80, 100 pounds if that's what you're capable of. And you're not limited by buying multiple individual maces. You have a loading capacity. But my personal preference is always going to be the short-handled hammer.
Who would you say this product is best for? Okay, some people might be like, am I going to use it? I'm not going to use it.
Sure. So that's really a question of what are you training for and what's missing from your training right now. So at the moment, I'm building a baseball trainer's protocol with the smallest hammer we've got that's geared towards elbow and shoulder health. If you're a power lifter and you've got impingements in your shoulders, going lighter and using it for a rotational tool is where I would recommend people use it. If you have really limited space and you have a home but not room for a home gym, you could get something heavier and spend all of your time with it like you would a kettlebell and get a full body workout with it if you're moving with it every single day. So it's applicable across the spectrum of fitness requirements. The question is, what do you need? Because we can fill the gap.
How about, I can see this being used at a park. Like I go to the park and just have fun with this. Now, can you slam this on grass, or what kind of pavement or any terrain could this be used on?
So the only thing it depends on how hard the grass is. If the grass is nice, somebody's gonna yell at you because you're gonna dig yourself a hole. But if you've got slams in the parking lot, everything else can flow on grass.
Even slamming it on, not know anything about foundations, but like slamming it in my garage, would that possibly be a bad thing to do?
So I have not been told about an issue where somebody was slamming it in the basement or a garage foundation and it led to a crack. I have personally cracked badly poured concrete, and I know it was badly poured because I poured it. But like I made a concrete pad and I put rebar and everything in it, but it wasn't done correctly and I cracked it pretty quick. But a professionally poured concrete foundation is going to be fine.
And then how would you have someone select a hammer? So if I'm looking to pick one of these up, my biggest thing is like, do I want a short one, long one? What weight should I go with?
So if you're going to go down that road, you have a question about what hammer to get, my recommendation is just hit us up on Instagram. I'm the one who runs the account, and I'll probably give you my phone number and have you call me and we can talk through it. Because it's about finding what the right fit is, because you can buy it if it looks cool, but if you don't use it, we're missing the point.
How about someone like me? Because I'm selfishly looking at one of these. So if I'm like some 200-ish pounds on a good day, like 210, maybe moderate levels of strength, and how I can see myself slamming it. I think I might want a long one versus a short one.
Sure.
But what do you think? What kind of weight do you think I'm?
So the long handle is going to eliminate some of the kettlebell style movements because you're going to have a hard time swinging it between your legs. And you can do all the same chopping and slamming with a short handle one. So that's a question that you would have to decide for yourself whether you want to kind of sacrifice that stuff. But if you're moving regularly, you're pressing weight overhead, My recommendation is find something around 10 to 12% of what you're moving in one hand. So if you're pressing, 70, 80 pounds up overhead, I'm gonna say, all right, why don't you go for 10 kilos and you'll build the strength into that rotational space. If you want something that you're gonna spend more time with, it's gonna become the full body workout, go a little bit heavier and just be prepared to have a longer learning curve of the hammer teaching you and you learning from what the hammer's trying to give you.
Awesome. What I like about this too is this is something I could bring home and say it's a gift for my kids, but secretly use it, because this looks like a kid would just love this.
Oh, absolutely.
In their house, just like decorative piece in the room or something.
Yeah, it will result in like, my dad's hammer's bigger than your dad's hammer, and having to explain to a kid why they can't say that at school, but we
didn't explain that. What does BAMF stand for? Can we say that on camera?
Oh, yeah, BAMF Hammer, it's what it means everywhere. It's the bodybuilding and mobile functionality hammer. If you're a really big nerd, when it slams on the ground, that's always the sound I imagine Nightcrawler made when he teleported, and that does say BAMF. So yeah, that's hence the origin.
Nice, awesome. Well, thanks, Sean. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for stopping by.